Well, good morning once again. Good morning once again. Okay, just making sure. Glad to have all of you with us this morning. I hope that this Mother's Day has gone very well for you so far. I hope for all of our moms out there that somebody this morning said, hey, happy Mother's Day. And if not, maybe it'll happen before the end of the day today, if it hasn't happened already. So happy Mother's Day to all of you. We just kind of want to jump right into what we're talking about today. I struggle sometimes with Mother's Day sermons. I've shared with this church family before because it's the same holiday, right? How do you share something different with the church family than what you shared before? Like, you know, this time last year, Brandon was speaking because I was out of town. Guess what he talked about? Moms and honoring them, right? And all the years before that, I've done the same thing. So there's part of that. Another reason is many years ago when I was first starting to preach pretty much every Sunday, I took stab at preaching a Mother's Day sermon, I think for the first time. And if you don't know your scriptures, Proverbs chapter 31 has this list of character traits, and it's labeled the character traits of the noble woman. And so I used Proverbs 31 kind of as my text, and I preached about that, and I preached about all those different traits and challenged our moms, you know, to live out those character traits in their lives. And when that worship time was over, Christy, had been in the kids area and stuff, and so we were taking her for a Mother's Day lunch. We were driving, and I was saying, here's what I preached. She didn't even know what I preached about, and I said, I preached about Proverbs. You knew some of it?
I think I heard some of it.
And I was preaching about Proverbs 31 and all these different character traits, and, well, you weren't happy with my sermon.
I think my words were, that was the worst sermon I've ever heard. We were in the car, the kids were loaded in the back, tears in my eyes, saying that was awful.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's not talk about marriage, the non-supportive wife. But
yes, that's a topic for another time.
This is why he doesn't let me in here anymore.
Yeah.
So.
But the reason was, or part of the reason was?
Well, it's just because of the expectations. I mean, he gave this list, and basically it was like, if you want to be a good mom, basically, you've got to cook, and you've got to clean, and you take care of the kids, and then you've got a job, and you're the CEO and the CFO, and then you're out in the community, and you're helping the poor, and, I don't know, you walk on water, So I was like, I can't live up to that. Mm-hmm. And basically, the sermon was, here's your list.
Now
go do that.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
Yeah. Not my best morning, obviously. So even from that, I try to keep that in mind every year, and I recognize that I personally can give you challenges and things as moms to, go home and do, but I'm not a mom. And there's some things that both genders of parents, have in common that we're trying to do together, and there's some things that we struggle with. I mean, even last week when we talked about failure, I mean, a lot of us struggle with feelings of failure as parents, moms or dads, or both. But I'm not a mom, and the emotions that I go through from a parenting perspective are totally different than Christy's. And some of the different experiences or some of the ways that we approach our parenting is totally different. And so it's difficult for me to talk about being a mom on Mother's Day, right? And especially in the context of what we've been talking about over the last several Sundays, which is this topic of labels. And we've been talking about the labels that we wear and the way that we allow other people to frame us or look at us, or the way we look at ourselves based on how people treat us or how we assume they feel about us. And a lot of us are walking around with different just negative labels. And it's not just that it's a passing feeling. We wear it. It shapes how we view ourselves and how we treat other people. That's what we've been talking about on these last several Sunday mornings. And so today, we're going to talk about another label that I think a lot of women struggle with, and that is, you want?
My label.
The bad mom, okay? The bad mom label. And that's not to say that women constantly walk around feeling like awful mothers, or maybe some of you do, but it's a consistent feeling that I think a lot of women have to fight, feeling like a bad mom. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Not that you are a bad mom, but you label yourself as one.
Well, even if you say, well, I'm not a bad mom, but then we say, but I'm not a great mom. I'm not a bad, I may not call myself a bad mom, but I don't call myself a good mom, so.
So what I did, you can find everything when you search on Google, right? So I looked for reasons why women tend to feel, if they ever feel like a bad mom, why do they feel that way? Because again, I'm not one. So what caused them to feel that way? So I'm just going to kind of go through the list, and you let me know how accurate these are, okay? So maybe you feel like a bad mom when your child, you can stand up if you need to, when your child is crying and you can't get them to stop. Sometimes you feel like a bad mom. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Not so much anymore. Sorry, Ethan, I'm about to tell a story on you. But there was a time when, I remember this, I was with Mary Jo. I don't know if you remember this or not. We were in Hobby Lobby. Have you ever been in the store, moms? How many carts full have you walked out on? Because the child won't stop crying, and we were in Hobby Lobby. I don't even know why. I can't remember why you were upset, Ethan. He's not anymore. It's great. But he was laid out in the middle, like where you walk in and out of Hobby Lobby. He was like in the doors, and bless it, you hadn't had Sawyer yet, and I think we were like, what's going on? I mean, she was not judging. She didn't even remember, but I could not get him to get it together. And so ended up walking out that
From
day.
the checkout line.
From the checkout line. We were that close.
Yeah.
And here I was with one of my best friends, and I was so embarrassed because I couldn't handle him. So
Yeah. So
I'm glad you still
sometimes you feel like a bad mom. Yeah. When your child refuses to listen to you, sometimes you feel like a bad mom.
Anybody ever counted to 3? 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. I really mean it now. 1, 2,
now I'm really counting
3.
to 3.
Anybody ever tell their kids to put their laundry away, clean their room, drive slower, pay your bills? Anybody? Am I alone?
Yeah. It's okay to show hands if that's you.
That's what we do in school.
We can wrestle with this
let's have a
together
show of
today.
hands.
Yeah.
Anybody's kids not listen to you, though you're so wise.
When you're too exhausted to play with or to spend time with or even to cook for your child, because all good moms cook full meals for their whole families every single day, right?
Back up.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. When they're little, you just can't wait for the kids to go to sleep, or the kid, you're like, oh yes, they can go to sleep. And then when they're big, I'm just now like, and my kids can testify, I just want to go to sleep. I don't care how long you stay up, but yeah, I want to go to sleep. But when they're little, you almost feel a relief because they're in bed. So.
But then you feel bad because.
But then you feel bad because you want to spend time with them, and but
yeah. Okay, when your child hurts themselves in a way that you could have prevented.
This is true whether it's a physical hurt. I mean, how many of you've had a child in the hospital? Or even just I think we've had.
And you might have been able to possibly prevent it.
Yeah, 8 broken bones among the boys.
I think.
And why did I not put a rail up on that bunk bed? I don't know. No rail. But, broken bones.
There's one on it now. There's one now.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
But, whether it's physical, how did I not notice the fever? They're physical hurts, but even, I think harder than the emotional hurts. When they're hurt, that just rips your heart out. How could I have prevented that when they're hurting? So. Yeah,
and when you don't, kind of along with the meals and stuff, when you don't spend as much time with your child, you think, I feel bad, I feel guilty, and this goes for both parents, I think. When
moms,
I feel like I should be doing more of my child than not. What about when your child doesn't reach a milestone as quickly as somebody else's kid does? Okay,
this makes me think of that book. I don't even know if it's out now. My kids are older. What to Expect in the First Year. That book was like my nemesis. Anybody heard of that book? Is it
what to expect when you're expecting,
and what to expect? And we got to, bless your heart, E. We got to after the 4th month, I just give up. My kid could not hit these milestones. This book was telling me to hit, and then you start comparing because this kid, is he crawling? Is he walking? He's talking? And my kid. He's
maybe
great.
Not. You're
great now, dude. You're fine. The book, though, said this is what my kids should be doing. But then it went on to, what classes are they taking and what, academic things they have or what teams are they on or what, it was supposed to just fall in line.
And so if they don't reach those milestones, it's not that you always blame the kid.
No, it has nothing to do with the kid. It's, we start to look at ourselves. What have I done? What should have I done? What should I do now?
When you miss a special moment with your child because you're distracted by something else, either on your phone or you're at work or something else pulls your attention away and your child says, "Did you see that?" or "You missed it."
Yeah, and sometimes that can even be you're doing something good, you're at work, you're working and you're doing something good. I'm about to confess to you, Griffin, bless your heart. Y'all guys, Daddy made me come up here. It's not on. And it's about parenting, and they're in here. But Griffin, we were having people, and we were still at Southside, and we were having a couple and their 2 kids over, and I was cooking, and then the mom came over and said, "Well, how long has Griffin been walking?" And I was like, "What? Griffin's walking?"
Yeah.
I had totally...
We missed his first steps.
I totally missed it. But it wasn't that I was, I wasn't watching TV. I was I was cooking and, doing good things. But I watch you walk now.
Yeah.
But
and you do
I
so
totally
good.
Missed.
You walk.
I was like, he doesn't walk. And she was like, yes, he's walking. So.
Yeah. And then this last one, do you feel like a bad mom when you resent your child, even if it's for just a second, but you like, can't stand my child right now. Why are you giggling? Why are you laughing?
I love all of y'all. Yeah, I need you to leave. No, it's not. It's just there are moments when you just, I don't want to do this. I don't. Why? Why do I have to do that? I don't want to do that. And sometimes it's just I'm tired. Or a lot of times it's hard. It's hard because there's a lot of times I don't know what to do. It's just, I'm so glad y'all are here. I love you all. But there have been times that and in those moments, and then in that next second, you feel, so how did I even think that? I love these kids.
Mm-hmm. I guess, I don't even necessarily want to do a show of hands. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I would venture to say, if I just ask the question, how many of you moms, grandmas, women who have functioned as mother figures have ever felt like a bad mom? Like, that's the label you're wearing. I would imagine, okay, I wasn't going to make you raise your hands, but thank you. Look at how many hands went up. You're not alone in this. You're in this struggle together. And for a few minutes, we're going to move quick, but for a few minutes, I want us to talk about 2 of the biggest enemies that I think that moms battle. You're in charge of helping to shape a life, not just to help this little person become a functioning adult, but help them become hopefully a godly person, a person that does the right thing and is a good person, has a good heart, and you're in charge of that. That's a big responsibility. Obviously, that's an enemy of Satan. He's going to do whatever he can to stop you from that or frustrate you in that. Now, we could spend all day talking about all the ways that Satan attacks moms, because he does on a daily basis. When we were talking about this, 2 things kind of kept coming up. And the first one was something that we talked about last week. Again, we were talking about failure. And the struggle, the weapon that Satan uses is the weapon of comparison. And comparing myself or comparing my kids or comparing my house or comparing how much I've got together compared to somebody else. And we talked last week especially about how we get in the habit of comparing our failures to somebody else's successes. And if I seem to be messing up or if my kids aren't doing as good as somebody else's kids, I'm looking on the negative end at myself and comparing that to all the good that I see in the other person. And I think for moms especially, that's such a painful and yet powerful weapon that Satan uses.
I completely agree. I am thankful, and I've said this before, that social media was not out until I think Ethan probably 8 or 9 years old when our oldest, when social media was on the rise. I mean, Macy Jane was the one that taught me how to use Instagram or Facebook or the social media. But the comparison, and when you're scrolling through, and I think Marshall told that story last week of how we watched a family in a restaurant and the pain and suffering of the children taking the picture, but when it came out on social media, it was like a perfect family night out, and so social media makes it very difficult, and I'm guilty too. I mean, Ethan's graduating, I'm putting that on social media, but the comparison of what's out there, I mean, I think it's more difficult for young moms than it ever has been because of social media. There's magazines, what's in the magazines, the TV shows. The TV shows, I feel sorry for the dads. Usually the TV shows show a lot of disrespect, and dad doesn't have it together, those type of characters. But then there's these glorious moms who do it all and can do it all in 30 minutes, because that's how long the show lasts. And so there's a lot of comparison out there to others, and Marshall talked about that. But there's also, for me, it's the comparison to my own expectations or my own plan. This is how I thought it was going to go, or this is what I planned for, and this is my laid out plan for these kids. And from birth to now, I have a plan, and I have a plan for their future, and but it doesn't go that way. So it's not just the comparison to others, it's the comparison to what my expectations are versus the reality.
And then when it doesn't work out that way, or when whatever you had, that's the label that you feel.
I'm not about, because it didn't go according to plan. And
that leads us into the second struggle that I think most moms deal with on a regular basis, and that's the concept of control. I've got a plan, I've got an expectation, and I'm going to make everything work, and it's just going to work the way I have it in my mind. And I'll leave you the floor to talk about that.
Control. Here's the big secret, and we say this in education as well. Kids, don't listen. We have no control. We don't have any. I'm thankful God, when the boys were young, and some of you have heard me tell this story. We were on a mountain in Colorado, and we decided that, I think Tyson was, 4?
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. And we got up to the top, and it was this way. It was black diamond something, and this way blue. And here little Tyson went over to, and that's not good if you're 4 years, unless you're like an expert, but in Colorado. But he was going over to, he
just started coasting that direction.
Yeah, and in that moment, I realized, oh my goodness, my kids are going to fall off this mountain and die, and I have no control. And actually, I went after him and whacked him with my pole, knocked him down. So yeah.
It was protection.
It really was protection.
It was a love tap.
It was, because I did not want him going. He wasn't ready to go. We weren't at that point yet. But it started me thinking about control of these kids. And really, the secret is, by the time you're done carrying them in your arms, you don't have any control. You have no control. You have control over you, but you don't have control over them. And that's when in those moments that it's time for me to get on my knees and just say, I give up. You got to take over, God. You gave me these kids, they're yours, because I don't have control. They're controlling them, they have control over themselves. I have control over myself, but it's very scary when you recognize I don't have control.
But I think, along with that, you're not saying just, I got no control, so I'm not going to bother. You're not saying just give up and don't be involved.
No.
But just to have some grace for yourself, allow God's grace to fill in those times where you recognize this isn't what I had planned.
Yeah, and that's what, when I'm trying to control my best laid out plans, that's the comparison with my plans too, but also my control, because I feel like, when they're little, I know when they should sleep. I know when they should, what classes they should take, or those type things. I have this plan, and so I'm trying to control that plan for them, the activities they should do.
Even their outfits and their hair is going to look exactly right.
And you have to relinquish control. But even I think as they get older, and we're talking to a lot of we've got parents in here that are parents of children older than ours, but even where they should live and what job they should have and where they should go to college, and where, we have, because we know, we've lived life. So we think we know. But I haven't lived Ethan's life, and I haven't lived Griffin's life, and I haven't lived Tyson's life. So though those were good plans for me, I have to relinquish the control for my kids. They have to live their life. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have input, but I don't have control.
But you feel like, not you, but a mom could feel like a bad mom when the plans don't work out, and I'm still trying to get back in here and fit in my plans, and you feel like you failed. Just because they're going a different direction, or just because things didn't work out the way they were supposed to. So, how do we get rid of this? You're walking around with this bad mom
I'll pick up my label again.
Yes, yeah.
He keeps giving me this label.
Yeah, that's right. But how do you switch it? So this is what we're trying to become, right?
Okay.
This is the label that we're trying to wear. It's a good mom. I don't want to feel like a bad mom. I don't want people to look at me as a bad mom. I want to look at myself as a bad mom. So how do I look like a good mom? And, you know me, I give action steps. Here's some tangible things that you can do, or at least start on or try to implement into your life. And let me preface this by saying, I'm not doing like I did years ago with that one sermon. This is stuff to shoot for. You're not going to be perfect in any of this. But if you're struggling, ladies, if you're struggling this morning feeling like a bad mom, or if you know somebody who is, here's some things that can help remove that label and let God label you as a good mom. First thing is what Christy just talked about. Remember that your kids are his kids first. They were his first. And in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, God tells Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I had plans for you before you even showed up. That's a testimony to God saying, you're my kid first. You got a mama that raised you, but you're my kid first. And I think, you can elaborate on this. I think that's something that would be helpful, maybe even liberating for moms.
I think those are the moments that I have felt best about my parenting, when I have said, God, I can't. They are yours. These 3 boys belong to you. I feel like they're mine. You gave them to me, but God, they are yours first. I can't do this. I can't. I need you to take over. Make things happen that need to happen. Give me words to say that need to be said, because it is not within me. I can't. They are your kids. Sometimes I'm saying it with a really nice attitude right now. Sometimes I'm like, you did this? You gave them to me. Please do something. This is not what I have planned. This is not what I wanted. Do something, please. That's really more what it looks like than the very pleasant attitude. But that's the truth. God thought in his plan, in his wise plan, we should raise Ethan, Griffin, and Tyson. He decided that. They are his kids. They belong to him. I have to let go.
And the second thing is recognizing, I guess just the best way to put it is just to be honest. Be honest with yourself about the struggle. I think so many times we hold on to, or ladies will hold on to the bad mom label because they don't want to admit that they don't have it all together, or that they don't know what to do, or that their kids aren't ending up like they thought they would, or whatever it is. Just be honest about that. Like, I don't have it all together. I don't know all the answers. I'm trying. There's a prayer that David offers in Psalm 86 where he says, Lord, help me because I am poor and needy. I think there's times that we as parents, moms and dads, feel that way. God, I am destitute. I am empty. Let's be honest about that. Let's not try to pretend. Let's not paint on the face and go, everything's fine. I'm a perfect parent with my perfect kids. Let's be honest. That's not to excuse anything. It's just being real about it.
I think we also need to not just be honest with our situation, or it is what it is, but to be honest with our kids. Mm-hmm. And that includes sometimes we tell our kids, I'm sorry. I had to say sorry to one of them, recently, because I messed up. I don't know what I'm doing. And even though I've been a parent before, maybe to Ethan at this age, I haven't been a parent to Griffin at this age, or I haven't been a parent to Tyson at the, it's a first time each kid. So part of it being honest is to be honest with the kid and say, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I've not been a mom to this before. I've not been a dad to this before. I'm sorry. And also to forgive your kids. I think there's power in the honest of apologies and the honestness of forgiveness in that relationship. Just because you're the parent, I have to own I don't know everything. I don't know what I'm doing sometimes, and I have to own that.
And along that line, another step is to get help. Don't try to do this on your own. Find whatever resources that you can. If it's books, great. If it's videos, great. If it's going to coffee with somebody else who's been through it before, great. Ask your parents how they dealt with you. You don't have to try to figure all this out by yourself. Get some help. Get some resources. Especially in those times where you're just like, I don't know what to do next. I'm being honest. I don't know what to do next. Get some help with that. Find some other people that, if nothing else, will just go, man, that's tough. I don't know either. Let's try to figure it out together. There's a story that's told in the Old Testament of David, who was on the run for his life, who things were just falling apart in his life, and he's sitting in a cave, not knowing what to do next, just feeling empty and exhausted. Much like some of our bedrooms sometimes when we shut the door away from the kids and like, I don't know what to do next. I'm empty and I'm exhausted. And Scripture says in 1 Samuel chapter 23 that Jonathan, David's friend, came to him and helped him find strength. We don't know what Jonathan said to him. We don't know exactly how he helped. Here's what Scripture says. In a moment when David felt empty and helpless, he got help. And that's what I think we need to do, especially moms need to do, to hold on to that good mom label.
It really does take a village. And there are many people. I mean, this church family has been part of our village. But the biggest thing about getting help is find someone, and I say this even when you're talking with someone about your marriage or your kids' relationships, someone who is not just going to agree with you all the time. Your help may be from someone who keeps you accountable. And I appreciate, Christy is, helping me raise these kids. And sometimes she'll say to me, no, that's too strict. Or, no, you need to be stricter. Or, no, you need, it's an honest feedback. And so finding someone, I mean, it's easy to talk, whether it's about marriage or parent relationships, if the person is always agreeing, yeah, you're doing everything. But to get that honest feedback of, maybe something different. Maybe you're at fault on this one. That can give you an honest reflection. So it is important to get help.
And then moms, you need to do this. You need to celebrate the small victories as well as the big ones. When the seemingly most insignificant thing goes right, take pride in that and celebrate that. We celebrate the big stuff, and we'll post on social media, and we'll tell other people about what our kids did or what our family's doing, and we should do that. I'm not saying we shouldn't celebrate those things, but sometimes you get to the end of the day, and you don't feel like you got anything to celebrate. I barely survived this day. I can't even remember any good stuff that happened. Find the good things. If you see your child that one time pick up their stuff without you asking them to, woohoo! You're a good mom. Celebrate that, right? And Jesus tells a story of a woman who lost one of her, she had 10 coins and she lost one of them. She searches her whole house and she finds the one coin. Y'all remember what she did next? She threw a party. She called her friends and said, y'all celebrate with me. I found my coin. How insignificant is the one coin compared to a whole truckload of coins? But she was so excited about it and she celebrated it. And I think it would help moms who are struggling with a bad mom label to recognize even the small good things and to take pride in that and to celebrate those things and to be thankful for them.
And sometimes the small things means, I didn't kill my kid today. It's like, there were times Christy and I would say at the end of a day, we'd finish the day, we may be on the phone, we're like, well, nobody's 6 feet under today. It was a good day. No one, and I remember that next year, or years from then, I would tell Marshall, I said, you just get up and say, if you don't walk out, you're a good mom. You didn't leave. You're here. You showed up. You're a good mom. So, this is our life. This is my life. This is your life. We can't change the picture of your life. This is it. This is your life. But you can change the way you frame it. And I do believe in positive thoughts breeds positive feelings, which breeds positive actions. If we want to be better moms, we've got to think positive, therefore we feel positive, and therefore we do positive. If we think negative, we feel negative, and we do negative. But we have to consciously change our thoughts to positive to make an impact.
We're going to have to move fast. The last one I was going to share with you, I've shared with this church family before, is fight. Fight for your families. Fight on your knees in prayer. Fight and set boundaries for your kids. Fight the influences, the negative influences in your own mind, your own heart, and the things that would war against your family. And this scripture is on the back of your announcement sheets today. It comes from the book of Nehemiah, where Nehemiah challenges God's people. He says, remember the Lord who is great and awesome. Remember who you have fighting with you. And then he goes on to say, fight for your families, your sons and your daughters. Don't give up. Don't quit. You may lose a battle here or there. Don't quit. You keep fighting.
There have been times Mama Bear has come out and I want to go fight somebody, for my kids. And mamas, you feel that way. If somebody's hurt your kid, dads too, you want to fight because you didn't want them to be hurt. But for me, fight, again, I can't control what's out there. I can only control me. For me, it's the fight against Satan. And so if I am fighting off, whatever that is, however he's choosing to attack you, how he attacks me, I worry about that and worry about fighting that off. And therefore, my parenting, things will come to me through me that are through his Spirit. We sing that song, the scripture was up there this morning, the fruit of the Spirit. If we have the Spirit in us and we sit and we listen and we ask God's Spirit to work in us, then the fruit of that is love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. Don't those sound like good mom traits?
Yeah.
But that's only through the Spirit in me. That's nothing that I can do, but I have to fight off Satan so that there's room for the Spirit. But that's the fight is with me, not fighting for my kids, though I'm not saying don't advocate for your kids and take care of your kids, but spend more time. The control is here, not out there. The fight is here, not out there.
So fight for your own heart and your own spirit. Just wrapping up, Proverbs 31. It's good stuff. It's scripture. I mean, it's good stuff.
I've come to terms with it. I still used to say, where's Proverbs 32? Where's the Father's Day sermon?
Yeah,
where's your list? But I have, I remember being little growing up in Hope, Arkansas, and this was the Mother's Day sermons, the virtuous woman, wife of noble character, and the list. And once we put a little bit more study into it, you find out this is actually in Jewish tradition, the men and the boys, they would memorize this scripture. It was not the women to say, here's your list. The men would memorize this part of scripture, and they would recite it to honor. It's a poem. It's not a list. It doesn't rhyme in English, but not that all poems should rhyme. But it's really like the first ever Hallmark card. Those Hallmark cards. That's what it is. It's to honor women. It's a king talking to his son like, this is the kind of woman I want you to find. I mean, as parents, we all want that, to find a good woman, find a good man. But they would use it to honor women. It wasn't her list. It was a poem to honor her, much like a Hallmark card. I've also come to terms with it because this is not the only place in Scripture you find this noble woman. There's another noble woman in Scripture, and her name is Ruth. And in Ruth chapter 3, it talks about her noble character. Ruth didn't have a job. She was poor. Ruth didn't, at this point when she was called noble, she didn't have kids. She didn't have a husband. She wasn't all that list, but she was noble, just like the woman in Proverbs 31. And so, again, I've come to terms. What makes you noble? Well, the only thing that both women had in common was they loved God, and they tried to follow God. And so that is what makes a good mom or a good woman. This is a woman. It's just saying, God, I will follow you. I will seek you. Live in me. Live through me. I will try. That makes a good mom.
And I think if you go all the way back to the beginning of Scripture, in Genesis chapter 1, when it talks about how God created the heavens and the earth and all the things that are in them, and in verse 31, it says that God looked at everything that He made and said, that's very good. I think that includes moms. Moms, you're good. You're good because God made you good. It's not perfect. You make mistakes. You fall short. There's things you could have done different or will try to do better the next time. You're good because God makes you good. So live in that and allow His Spirit to live in you so that you can be that. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your time this morning. I appreciate my wonderful wife coming up and sharing with you about how to get rid of this bad mom label. If you walked in this morning wearing this, take it off. Let God remove it today. You're a good mom. Can you do some things to improve? Sure. But you're a good mom. Take confidence in that. And as we wrap up this morning, we do the same thing every Sunday. We have a song and we encourage anyone who's got any kind of struggles, anything that's on their hearts, whether it's about your job as a mom or a dad, or if there's an addiction or some other habit that you want to get rid of, or just some kind of struggle, something you want prayers for. Excuse me, if today's the day you woke up this morning going, I'm ready to give my life to Jesus Christ. I've never done that before, and today's the day. you're welcome to do that. We're going to stand together in just a moment. We're going to sing a song together, and you're welcome to come forward and share with us whatever's on your heart. But I would encourage you, as we're singing together, as we're standing and singing, moms, hear the Spirit of God talk to you today. Let him tell you, let him speak to your heart and tell you, you're a good mom. I made you good. You're a good mom. And for all of us, when you don't feel so good, my God can fix that. He can redeem whatever the mistakes are, and he's ready to do that for you today. And if we can help with that, we want to. So if you have a need, please share that with us while together we stand and sing.